Hello, I'm back with Restart, chapters 12 and 13. This is chapter 12, Chase's perspective. We left off with Aaron's perspective and how upset and worried he was that he lost his boy, Chase. A few more memories have come back. Mostly it's just images and impressions, but there's one that's pretty concrete. My mother has been showing me a lot of old pictures in the hope that something might ring a bell. One snapshot of an ivy covered building looks kind of familiar. The student union at Johnny's University, Mom explains. It triggers a flashback. It's not that I remember it, it's more like it's already in my head, and I'm just noticing it now. Mom and seventh grade Chase are dropping Johnny off at college. Our car pulls around the long circular drive in front of the building in the photograph. Johnny gets out. It's his first day of freshman year, his first time living away from home. He seems terrified. And what do? Sympathy for my poor scared brother? Or for Mom, who's on the verge of tears? For myself even, I'll be losing my brother to a new life in a faraway place? I don't feel any of those things. Instead, I'm thinking, what a wuss this kid is. I can't believe I even looked up to him. What a wimp. What a baby. My scorn is so sharp that it jolts me back to the here and now. How could I have made such harsh judgments about my own brother? When I was in the hospital, Johnny was there at my bedside every minute Mom was, just as worried about me, just as torn up by my accident. I guess that wasn't payback for the wonderful brotherly loyalty I've shown him over the years. People say I've changed. I'm barely beginning to understand how much. Dr. Cooperman isn't surprised that my memory is returning. My brain is totally fine, he says at my next appointment. After all, I remember everything that's happened since coming out of the coma. Not that it would be easy to forget things like Shoshana dumping frozen yogurt on my head, or Brendan going through the car wash on a tricycle, or how it felt to push Joey against the wall, a blur of violence, anger, and lightning-fast action. And something else, too. I may not be proud of it, but it's the truth. Satisfaction. I didn't like the way a situation was going, and I changed it with my own physical power. Aaron's words came back to me. You didn't have to attack him. And Shoshana's goon. That haunts me a little. I don't regret stopping Joey from bullying Brandon, but was fighting really the only way to make that happen? Worse, I didn't even consider trying to talk Joey down. I just grabbed the kid and manhandled him the same way he was manhandling Brendan. I get that the old Chase could be like that before the accident, but now I'm starting to wonder if that person is still inside me, emerging from the darkness, bit by bit, along with my memory. As weird as it was to lose my past, this might even be weirder. The more that comes back, the less I recognize myself. Dr. Cooperman also pronounces me fully recovered physically, and then he drops the bomb. He still wants me off football for the rest of the season. I must be pretty devastated because he adds, it's all out of an abundance of caution. You're fine, but concussions can't be taken lightly. We're learning new things about the long-term effects every day. I know you're disappointed, honey, my mom adds. I understand how important football is to you. How can I explain it to them? Sure, I'd love to play football, but what really bugs me is that football is my biggest connection to my old life. I don't think I've had a single conversation with Dad that wasn't about either my past gridiron glories or the ones he still expects me to have. And since the incident with Joey, the only Hurricanes who will talk to me are Aaron and Bear. Even with them, half the time I get the impression that their main interest is getting their team captain back. For sure, those guys are never going to forgive me for A, doing my community service when I don't have to, and B, not hating it enough. To be honest, I don't hate it at all. One thing no one ever tells you when you're laid up, like I was in the hospital, is how boring it is. You really appreciate anybody who comes to break the monotony. So now I get to be that person for the residents of Portland Street. It makes me feel good about myself. And that's huge at a time when I'm learning I have so much to feel bad about. Besides, I get stuff out of it too. I've learned how to play mahjong, and I've picked up a lot of great tips on how to grow stuff, mostly from Mrs. Kitteridge, whose room looks like a botanical garden. I think I'm going to be able to save a lot of Mom's plants, and maybe even the ficus in Helene's room, the one she bought at her preschool's flower sale, and is at least 90% dead. That'll make points with Corinne, who's losing her enthusiasm for the fallen leaves and the tiny white bugs that are all over them. As for Mr. Solway, despite the fact that I've forgotten most of what's happened to me, I feel confident saying he's the coolest person I've ever met. Anyone who could jump into a moving enemy tank, throw open the hatch, and take it out with a grenade has to be a pretty amazing guy. Mr. Solway doesn't see it that way. That's what I did, not who I am. If I'd bothered to think about it, I wouldn't have done it. I'm not that stupid. The sad part is that Mr. Solway can't find his Medal of Honor. Nurse Duncan thinks it probably got misplaced during Portland Street's big repainting job, and it will turn up sooner or later. But he's convinced that he flat out lost it. I haven't been as sharp since my wife died, he tells me. We never had kids, so we were the whole world to each other. She looked after everything, and I looked after her. You can see which one of us did a better job. When she was gone, that's when my life pretty much ended. This, a sweep of his arms, takes in the room, is marking time. I hate it when he talks like that. Come on, Mr. Solway. You've got a good life here. You got plenty of friends. He glares at me. Have you ever asked about me around this place? Old ladies on crutches do the 100-yard dash when they see me coming. I've got my own personal table for one in the dining room. The nurses call me Mr. Happy Face. They think I don't know because they assume I'm just as deaf as everybody else in this funny farm. I'm getting the sense that before my accident, I was kind of Mr. Happy Face at my school. I confided him. That's clever. There's a little connection between Mr. Solway, the grumpy old man, and Chase before the accident. I could have told you that, he replies. When you first showed up here, you were just like those other two good-for-nothings, maybe the worst of the three. Sometimes a whack on the head is exactly what a fella needs. That's a pretty harsh thing to say to someone with amnesia, but that's just the way Mr. Solway is. He isn't being mean, he's just being honest. He's lived a long time and been through a lot, and he doesn't feel like he has to pull any punches. I respect that more than anything. That whack on the head cost me 13 and a half years of my life, I reminded him. Remembering is overrated, he reassures me. You know that heroic act that earned me that fancy medal? I don't remember 1 second of it. The only reason I know what happened is from the report my captain filed with headquarters. I guess when you get older, it's hard to hang on to every detail, I offer. He shakes his head. It isn't age. It's looking into a T-34 tank after a grenade's gone off inside of it. It's not a pretty sight. That was the medic's explanation anyway. You block out what you can't face. But they were the enemy, I say gently. There was a war on. They're always the enemy when they're shooting at you, kid. But a dead man doesn't care what uniform he's wearing. I'm better off forgetting the whole rotten business, medal and all. That's another thing I have in common with Mr. Solway. We're memory loss buddies. I wonder if I blocked out what a jerk I used to be because I can't face it. I don't think it's the same thing, though. Besides, my past, my lost past, has started to come back. I wouldn't exactly call it a tsunami of recollection, more like that water torture where the blindfolded prisoner feels a drip on his head just often enough to drive him crazy, anticipating the next one. I can't even be sure they're real memories. Blowing out candles at what could have been one of my birthday parties, a view of the Hollywood sign that might have come from our family trip to California, being crushed under a dog pile of football players, a flashback to one of my sports triumphs. Who can tell? My mind plays tricks on me. Last night I had a dream about cherry bombs going off inside a piano, scaring some poor kid half to death. And I woke up in a cold sweat. But when I checked the school yearbook for a picture of Joel Weber, he wasn't the guy in my dream. That was no memory, just the product of a guilty conscience. So he remembers the piano. My theory is my brain invents fake memories of things I heard about because I'm trying so hard to remember stuff. I even had a nightmare from the Korean War, and for sure I was never there. I actually saw myself in uniform, climbing up the side of a tank like Mr. Solway did. I yank open the hatch, pull the pin on my grenade, and when the soldiers inside look up at me, I can't bring myself to drop it in on them. I just hang there, not knowing what to do, until the grenade goes off in my hand. Believe it or not, the impression from before my accident that seems the most vivid is that little girl. Sometimes so much so that I feel like I should be able to reach out and touch the white lace on her blue dress or the red ribbon in her hair. I have to question whether she's any more real than my dreams. She never moves, she just stands there, not looking at me, but off to the side somewhere. She must be important, though. She's the one image that was still with me when I woke up in the hospital. And I wonder who she is. School triggers a few memories too, but they're mostly random images and feelings of deja vu. There's nothing solid enough to be useful. I still don't really know the faculty, the kids, or the custodians. I'm just now learning my way around a building I've been attending since the 6th grade. I obviously don't remember what a lousy student I was because my teachers are also impressed with how well I'm doing now. Some of them seem like they're ready to faint when I actually hand in a homework assignment. Video Club is the one place that's brand new to me because it actually is. We've collected a ton of footage for the yearbook. I'm lagging behind the other members since most kids run a mile when they see me coming. I always shout, "Brendan sent me!" so they'll know I'm not looking for trouble. Mr. Leo wants me to work on my interviewing skills because my subjects seem so ill at ease when I'm around them. Yeah, no kidding. They're all waiting for me to pull their underwear up over their heads and stuff them into the nearest locker. At least the video kids are getting used to having me around. Well, except Shoshana, who hates me for good and always. I can't blame her, even though I have no memory of what Aaron, Bear, and I did to her brother. It's pretty strange to be despised by something that, in your mind, never happened, and to someone it seems like you never met. She stopped fighting with me directly. Mostly she makes pointed comments about how the club should have closed up membership while they still had the chance. That's unfair because I'm not even the last to join. Kimmy got here after me. And if I'm a newbie, I don't know what you call her. She doesn't know a camera from a kumquat. For her interview with the head cheerleader, she left the lens cap on, so there was audio, but no video. On her second try, she zoomed in so close that all you could see was a mouth talking. I think Brendan has kind of a crush on Kimmy because he won't hear anything bad about her. Shooting a mouth but no face is expressionism, and lens caps are too analog for a digital age. Whatever. Brendan's true love, though, is YouTube. This afternoon, he shows us his latest clip of a tiny goldfish bravely swimming against the pull of a bathroom drain, while electric guitars roar in the background just as the struggling creature is about to be sucked away to his doom. A toilet plunger slams down over the drain opening, saving his life. Brendan pauses the video to scattered applause. I call it Plunger Ex Machina, he announces grandly. Shoshana doesn't approve. You're wasting your time with this stuff. You should be helping me with my entry for the National Video Journalism Contest. It could be a huge boost for the club if we win. He brushes her off. The kind of internet traffic I'm trying to generate isn't going to come from some senior citizens reminiscing about the good old days. That depends on who we pick, Shoshana insists. Seniors have lived through amazing times and accomplished incredible things. We just have to find the perfect subject. Before I realize who I'm talking to, I blurt, You should talk to Mr. Soloway over at Portland Street. Her angry eyes skewer me. I've contaminated her precious project with the sound of my voice. Another of my crimes against humanity, like bullying her brother and not dying when I fell off the roof. Who's Mr. Soloway? Kimmy asks. Oh, he's a hero from the Korean War. He was awarded the Medal of Honor, and that's the highest award any soldier can get. And how would you know someone like that? Shoshana demands. It's obvious she doesn't believe a word out of my mouth. I work there. Aaron, Bear, and me. It's our community service for... My voice trails off. She, of all people, knows exactly what we're doing community service for. He sounds perfect, Brendan agrees. Maybe I can get him to ride a tricycle through the car wash, Shoshana retorts icily. At least talk to the guy, Hugo prods. Mr. Leo wades into play peacemaker. I know you'll find a way to make the school proud, she says to Shoshana, and thank you, Chase, for a marvelous suggestion. Shoshana's cheeks darken through pink and red to full crimson. I hope I never hate anybody as much as that girl hates me. Chapter 13, Shoshana Weber. I get it. We're nerds. The video club, I mean. We own it too. Take something meant as an insult and be proud of it. Nerd power. After all, the shoe totally fits. We wouldn't be as happy doing whatever it is the so-called cool people do anyway. That's how I always looked at it. We are who we are, and we're good with it. I figured the others felt the same way. Who cares what the popular kids think of us? Was I ever wrong about that? As soon as someone from the A-list showed even the slightest interest in Video Club, we all went wink in the knees and lined up to love him. My friends used to act like attention from the cool people meant nothing to them because they never thought they'd get any. But now that they've had a little taste, they're all hooked. Brendan, who was bullied by Chase almost as much as my brother was, has turned into Chase's biggest fan. And none of those sheep can stop raving about Chase's amazing suggestion for my National Video Journalism Contest entry. I can think of a lot of words to describe Chase, and amazing isn't one of them. Except maybe that it's amazing he isn't in jail. On the other hand, well, that contest is important to me, and it's not like I've got a better idea. I did a little research, and the Medal of Honor turns out to be just as special as Chase says it is. Even a broken clock gives the correct time twice a day. I figured I'll go talk to Mr. Soloway. If he really did win a Medal of Honor, I owe it to myself to check him out. On the walk over to Portland Street, my phone pings. A message from Joel. JW Piano Man. Where are you? Shosh 466. In town. JW Piano Man. Hot date? Hot date? Yeah, right. With a guy who must be at least 80. I thumb back. Shosh 466. Video club business. Joel, question mark? Shoshana, meeting possible subject for contest video. For contest video. Korean war hero. Joel, wow, where'd you find him? I hesitate. I never told Joe that while he's suffering at Milton, Chase has moved in and taken over his spot in the video club. It would only make a miserable situation worse. And I'm definitely not going to admit that Chase put me onto Mr. Soloway. I don't like keeping secrets from my brother, but there are some things you just can't say. Maybe in a few months, if Joel starts fitting in at boarding school and making some new friends there, or at least not hating it so much, I can break the news to him and he won't care so much. So I message him back. A friend of a friend? I put away my phone, praying that he doesn't ask me for more information. Joel is a cross between a prosecuting attorney and a bloodhound. If he gets the idea that you're holding out on him, especially now when he's lonely and bored with nothing better to do than to think about home. At Portland Street, I ask at the desk and they direct me to room 121. As I make my way through the halls, I get a sense of just how elderly some of the residents must be. My grandfather is 73 and he still rollerblades every morning. These people are way older than him. A lot of them must be in their 90s and maybe even 100. The door of 121 is ajar, and when I knock on it, it swings open. Mr. Soloway? I ask tentatively. A gruff voice announces, "We don't want any." No, I'm not selling anything. I step farther into the room, and I get my first view of him. I can't see him directly, since he's facing away from me, watching a news channel on TV. He's short but sturdy, with thick white hair. "I just want to talk to you. I'm in the video club at my school, and..." "You call yourself a governor?" He bellows suddenly at the TV. "You shouldn't run a hot dog cart. You're an idiot." I keep talking. I do that when I'm nervous. "And there's this national contest where you have to interview a senior citizen who's had an interesting life." He turns his chair and fixes me with his burning gaze. "Do I know you?" I'm still babbling. "And I heard that you were awarded the Medal of Honor in the Korean War." His face reddens. "Is that what this is about? That medal doesn't make me any more special than a lot of other people who were there. Go interview one of them and leave me out of it." I'm trying to be reasonable. "Don't you want your story to be told?" "No. It's my story. It's enough for me to know it." By now, I've caught sight of the picture of President Truman hanging the medal around a younger Mr. Solway's neck, and I'm convinced that he has to be my subject. You know, a lot of kids my age don't understand the sacrifices people like you made for our country. "Don't flatter me, kid. I'm 86 years old and there's precious little left of me to flatter. I don't want to be interviewed. I don't want to be thanked. All I want is for the dining room to stop serving cream spinach." I'm completely defeated. The guy is impossible, absolutely determined to stew in his own misery. He almost reminds me of Joel, who was so ticked off at where he ended up that he can't allow himself to make the best of it. Because then he'd have nothing to complain about, and complaining is the only thing that keeps him going. The difference is that Joel has every right to be angry at the curveball life pitched at him. This old creep is just plain mean. I'm about to go out the door in defeat when a familiar voice announces, "Good news, Mr. Solway. I snagged the last prune Danish." And there he is, the alpha rat of my family's nightmares, bearing a pastry on a paper plate. He's got a name tag on proclaiming him to be Chase, volunteer. The change in Mr. Solway is incredible. His crabby glower morphs into a grin that lights up the room. Come to think of it, it makes perfect sense. Who can cheer up a miserable jerk who would never give anybody else the skin off a grape? Only another miserable jerk. Someone even nastier and more selfish. The two of them were made for each other. Then Chase notices me. "Oh, hi, Shoshana. His smile disappears when I glare at him. "Wait a minute," Mr. Soloway exclaims. Is she your friend, Chase?" He nods. "Yeah, we're in the video club together. I'm the one who suggested you for her project." The old soldier thinks it over and comes to a conclusion with a curt nod. "Well, that makes it different. I'd be happy to help the two of you out." I don't like the sound of that. I don't have a partner for this contest, and even if I did, the last person on earth I'd ever choose would be Chase Ambrose. But if I say that to Mr. Soloway, I'll get kicked out again, this time for good. I turn furious eyes on Chase. He gazes innocently back, and I know that somewhere deep inside, he's laughing at me. It looks like I have a partner, whether I want one or not, and I don't. How am I ever going to explain this to Joel? Indeed, how is she going to explain this to Joel? That her new partner in the video club is none other than the jerk who basically tortured you and basically sent you to that boarding school. She's in a really tough predicament, but she wants to win this contest. And this guy, Mr. Soloway, is an interesting subject. Anyone else thinking about his medal, where it is? Any guesses about where his medal might be? All right, so that's it till next time. Hope you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying this book a lot. I'll see you next time. Bye.